This afternoon, I'm Al Decker. I'm immediate past president of Muleskinners. Dave Robertson is, I believe, attending a reunion out of town. And this afternoon, we're pleased to have candidates for Congressional District 3, which is currently represented by Republican Bob Onder. One of our three candidates, we've got notice this morning that Paul Wilson has suspended his campaign. So he will not be with us today. But our candidates today are Holstein and Bethany Mann. And we want to start out by giving you each about 5 minutes to introduce yourselves, tell us your backgrounds, why you're running, stuff like that. I have some notices that you're getting close to your time with 1 minute and 30 seconds and stuff. And then after that, we will open up questions, and that should be directed to each candidate, and you'll each have about 3 minutes to answer those questions.
Yeah. Meaning questions, you said each candidate, each question
should be answered
both candidates. Yeah, not directed to a specific candidate. There you go.
So yeah. I think we'll start alphabetically by last name, and that would be Tommy. Would you like to go first?
I would love to.
And this meeting is being recorded. It's being viewed by a number of people online, but it will probably be viewed by quite a few other people later on. Looking at our website.
Yeah. Well, hello. My name is Tommy Holstein. I am running for Congress here in the 3rd Congressional District. I'll start by saying that I admire all the work that Bethany has done for her campaign. I believe I've voted for you a couple times, but I was deeply concerned that that the Republican chokehold that they have on this district in this state will continue, and I felt that that I could make a difference, and so I knew that I needed to try. So I live in St. Charles, Missouri, with my wife Emily and our 3-year-old daughter Loie. If you hear some cooing by another little girl here, that is not my daughter, but she is a young Democrat for sure. For work, I own Video Punk. We are a video production company based out of St. Charles. We do work mostly with local companies, some out of state as well, but mostly some local companies. We've worked with nonprofits, collegiate organizations, insurance agencies, entertainment spots. We've worked with a lot of different organizations. I also am an avid volunteer. My volunteer work is probably the thing that I'm the most proud of in terms of my work. I am on the board for Destination Imagination for Kansas and Missouri. I am a chapter advisor for a fraternity at Lindenwood University. And I also travel the country attending leadership conferences. And my role there is typically as a small group facilitator. We'll typically have a group of like 8 to 10 students in each small group. And I'll teach topics such as emotional intelligence, Clifton strengths, how to have hard, tough conversations with people who disagree with you, soft skills that I think are sorely missing in a lot of today's education. And I'm running because I feel like we need change desperately in this country, and I think I can be a part of that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Muleskinners. What a pleasure to be back with all of you, and thank you, Tommy, for running. It takes all of us working together to make a change, and you're part of that change. So thank you for being part of this democratic process. My name is Bethany Mann. I am a progressive Democrat running for Congress in Missouri's 3rd Congressional District. I grew up in Forestell. I'm a mom of 3 out in St. Peters. I'm an environmental chemist. I started my career with the EPA, testing water and soil samples for contaminants that had been dumped into our water by big corporate polluters. I spent the first 10 years of my life in agriculture, helping farmers and producers test their soybean and wheat and other commodities. I'm no stranger to working or walking through an ethanol plant with pregnant with steel toe boots. I've done that before. In the past 5 or 6 years, I've worked with a lot of agencies, including the EPA, on forever chemical testing and other types of environmental contaminants. I'm running for Congress because I believe that, yes, we need a change. And I believe that every single person here deserves freedom. The freedom to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and leave something better for our future. The freedom to collectively bargain for better wages, better working conditions, and safer job sites, and to make sure that the corporations that work and operate in the United States, they're paying their fair share in taxes too. I believe that everyone should have the freedom to send their children, or even when you're later as an adult, you need more education. I believe that we should all have access to a fully and equitably funded public education system. And I believe that the voice of the people should be upheld and uplifted. I am proud to announce that as of this week, I have been endorsed by the Missouri AFL-CIO. I have been endorsed also by the International Association of Firefighters Union, our local 2665 right out of St. Charles County, the Eastern District Firefighters. And late last night, the St. Louis Labor Council endorsed me. So I am grateful for the support of labor. Our labor community has been heroes here, whether they've been out on the line like our heroes at UAW 2250 out in Wentzville, who went on strike against the Big Three. Whether they're our machinists over at IAM who went on strike against Boeing out in St. Peters and out in St. Charles, Missouri. Labor has my back and I have theirs. And so strong delivering for working families is a big part of my campaign. I am running against an extremist who we can talk about all of the bad things Bob Onder has done, from writing the trigger law that banned healthcare to overturning votes and closing rural hospitals. I believe that we can't just run against something, that we must run for something. And man, we have a bright future when we turn this state and turn the state blue and make a difference throughout the nation. And so I am excited for what Missouri moms will do to save this republic. It's quite exciting. So I'm so happy to hear your questions, Muleskinners. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the room or from Zoom?
I've got a question.
Question?
Oh, hi, Scott.
Ooh, you want to go first, Scott?
I wasn't able to make it in person. How are you running the race in terms of we're not totally sure how the boundaries are? And so how are you dealing with that?
How do we decide who goes first?
Let's start with Beth.
All right. So my strategy, because we don't know how the maps are going to go. We've got an inkling of what they plan, and some of the extreme MAGA Republicans know. My strategy is to beat Bob Onder on any map, and that is entirely possible with a grassroots coalition that we have built here in this state. For the first time in over a century, we made sure to put a Democratic option on the ballot in every Missouri House and Missouri Senate, and we had a couple of candidates in the federal race as well too. And so our plan has been to build up so much Democratic infrastructure in the old district, the legal 3rd Congressional, the new illegal MAGA map, or even the map from 22, because I'm a scientist and and I'm thorough. I wanted to make sure that we had enough people running in those races that would fight back on all fronts, from the state to the federal level. So that's my strategy. So what you've seen is I've driven around. I am a man of action. Whether I'm driving up to Hannibal or down to Potosi, just in the past week, I've been in Callaway County. I walked in a parade this week over in Marys County, and I show up all over the district. They are going to have to mount a pretty strong offense to combat the strong push that we're running towards November. It's a combination of going everywhere and also recruiting national resources to help us fight back here at home. We have all been under the rule of 20 years of a supermajority. That means that a lot of our democratic infrastructure had eroded after the years of hope and change of the Obama years. So a big part of what we have been doing is getting more people on the ballot, visiting with more voters, going where voters are, not just Democratic circles, and bringing the resources. I've got Bernie Sanders, Chief of Staff from Nevada on my team. I have his field director from the East Coast as well. And we have national support to be able to beat Bob Onder on any map, whether it's St. Charles out to Boone County, Potosi, Hannibal, everywhere in between. We are going to win.
Thank you. Tommy, again, I think the question was, how do you deal with the fact that the boundaries are unsettled?
Yeah, that's been something we have talked about quite a lot. In the intro video that I made, you can find it on Instagram and TikTok, our biggest platforms there. One of the first things I did was I held up a map of the state, and you can just see a bunch of squiggles. And what that was representing was the two maps kind of overlaid against each other. At this point, we're unsure what the actual boundaries are. I keep being told it's this, oh, it's decided now, and we're just getting the runaround from the state government. So the way that we are tackling this issue is we know that we need to think creatively. Bob Onder was able to donate $900,000 to himself to start his campaign. And so we know that we're not going to be able to raise that kind of money just with like the grassroots like support we have. Like these are individuals, everyday people. We do not have the big corporate backing that Bob Onder does. What we do have is we had somebody from Columbia, which both maps have these counties and districts in them. We had a punk band from Columbia want to help us throw a fundraising concert. We have several people around the district. They're saying things like, thank you so much for running and getting me back involved. My fire was put out and you have ignited. Someone said that we ignited turned their ember into a large flame. We have student organizations from Mizzou, from Lindenwood, asking how they can get resources from us so that they can then go do field work for us, to go knock doors or phone bank. We have students from virtually every high school in the state asking how they can do the same. It is incredible how much grassroots support we have gotten just by posting on social media. And so the two biggest places that we know that we need to focus are going to be St. Charles County and in the Jeff City area, where the two colleges are. We want to really activate that base just by virtue of my background in volunteering with that age range and being a zillennial. So I'm a flip a coin. I could be a Gen Z or a millennial person, depending on who you ask. I can speak both languages. And I know that we're going to be able to pull the support from that younger base that we desperately need to be able to flip this seat. Regardless of which map we use, St. Charles County, Jeff City, they're going to be like some of our biggest battlegrounds. That's where a large majority of the population in this district is. And so we're really focusing there, combined with really pulling that grassroots support from younger voters and coalitions all across the state.
At present, District 3 is the south half of Columbia, and I think with if this new super gerrymander map takes place, then it will include most of Columbia, not most of Boone County.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Herb had a question.
Thank you both for running, and thank you for coming before us today. Question. Recognizing that freshman congressmen do not always get the committee assignments they first wish, But if you have your druthers, which committees would you most like to sit upon in Congress? Each of
And
you.
I'll start with Tommy.
It's a great question. I certainly will not know the names of certain committees, but I'm very focused on education. I'm deeply concerned about the impact of AI on our education system, on young minds. I think we've seen what social media has done, and AI is going to do the same, if not far worse. So committees related to education, ensuring that we have public funding for our public schools, ensuring we have strict and intentional AI and data center regulation. I think those are some of our most pressing issues at this moment, and are going to impact the next several decades of this country.
Right. With my experience, I would be able to serve in the agriculture committee. With my experience, not just working here in Missouri with soy and corn and wheat and some of our cotton farmers out here, I have the experience working nationally. I've walked through most of the soy crushing plants in North America. I can speak directly to the issues that farmers and our farming community needs, whether it's the price of fertilizer, whether it's the right to repair their own equipment, or even just the fact that, diesel makes it so expensive to haul anything. We need trade to be returned back to Congress, and we need folks who know our ag communities to serve on the ag committees. I also have unique experience in the commerce and energy sector. For the past 6 years, I have worked as an essential worker in our water and energy infrastructure. I am familiar with refineries, ethanol facilities, the different other types of nuclear generation. And I also agree that AI does, there are some great risks. That we need some guardrails, and we need some lawmakers who understand the technology. I have been trained in AI. I don't agree that we need 22 data centers in the state of Missouri. Our issue is an energy generation problem. It's not a storage issue. And these are finer points that we need a champion who can go to DC to explain and to create policies that keep guardrails for our children and our educators, for our communities, so that we're safe without unnecessary surveillance. So those are two types of committees in particular that I could serve with my experience and lead on, not just show up for a committee hearing.
Thank you. And former state representative Nancy Copenhagen has a question.
Okay, thank you. I'm out here in Moberly online, but I have a couple of questions. One is, well, maybe it starts with a statement. I'm very glad to see a primary in this race for several reasons, one of which is to get the attention that happens in the summertime. Especially out here in rural Missouri, that's where the attention focuses on candidates. So I'm glad that we have a primary. I'd like to know if you're both willing to jump in and help the other one, if whoever's the winner, so that we have a team effort. And another thing that I'm concerned about, but it probably doesn't affect the Congress as much, but I'm very concerned with the education system. I'm a retired teacher, active in Missouri NEA, active in League of Women Voters, but I'm concerned about the politicizing of our education system in St. Charles County, particularly the moving of elections to November, the parties being more involved, and all of that kind of thing. And I hope that whoever's elected to Congress in that area could maybe have some impact with the state the state reps and senators in that area. Comments on that, please. Thank you.
Start with Bethany.
Sure. I'll start out with the easy one. Will you support the other candidate? Absolutely. Yes, I will. I took a promise in 2021 that regardless of how long it took to change the trajectory of the state, that not only would I run, but I would do everything that I could to get other people to run and to get involved in civic service. And so regardless of the election outcome in 22, 24, and 26, I will be on the ground organizing because this is the coalition and the good work that we are all doing. And I'm glad to hear that you are concerned about the educational system. I share those same concerns too. And as a resident out in St. Charles County, I am dismayed that they have voted across the state to just move school board elections to St. Charles to November so that they're partisan. And that's the whole reason. Well, the reason is the municipal elections happened in April, and every extreme candidate backed by Bob Onder and MAGA, they lost decisively. And so they realized that unless they had a much higher voter turnout, that they would lose even more, or they would lose their school board races from here for the next 15 years to organize labor, whether it be teachers or laborers here. I believe that we should have a fully and equitably funded public school system from pre-K all the way out to secondary schooling. And these attacks on our educational system are just grifts to privatize so that those who have more can keep their wealth, and they can funnel low-wage workers either into the private prison system or into low-wage work where they don't have to compensate them fairly. I support increasing teachers' pay. I support giving our schools everything that they need. And I do not think that our children deserve a politicized educational system. It should be a guarantee just based on their citizenship or their involvement in our American communities here at home.
I'm sorry, was your name, was it Sarah?
Nancy.
Nancy. Okay, sorry, I can't read the.
I'm Sarah.
Oh, you're Sarah.
Yep. You were mostly right.
Thank you. Can you repeat the question one more time? I just want to make sure I'm answering it directly.
Sure. I'm concerned with two things about after the primary, working hand in hand with whoever is the winner, as well as my concern about the politicizing of the education elections and school board elections and bond issues in St. Charles County, which I think is detrimental to, and the worrisome that I have is that it's, to quote an old friend of mine, Ted Farnan, it's the camel's nose under the tent to try to do that statewide. So I'm concerned about moving elections to November to politicize them.
Yeah, so I would absolutely, should Bethany win the primary, we will throw all of our support behind her because we know that we have, we're doing this because we have to flip this seat. We have to make massive change. And we want the best representative for you to be in office. If that is us, fantastic. If that is Bethany, fantastic. And we are going to support her 100%. I'll make that very clear. I am somebody who believes that we don't do anything in this world alone. We have to rely on other people, and we have to rely on the support from people who have different skill sets than us, who have lived different lives than us and have different perspectives. And Bethany has a lot of that. And I think it'd be foolish if I were to win this primary and then not include her in some of that too. Like, Bethany has a lot of knowledge that would be really beneficial to have in a campaign or to have in office. So to make that clear, yes, I would absolutely support Bethany if she were to be the candidate. And in terms of the school position, I'm really concerned that we turned so much of what's happening in schools into a culture war, and that's a way that we're dividing people. We have to let school be about school, and we can't use it as we can't use this institution where we send our children every day as some sort of political gotcha, or like, that is not how a school is supposed to function. It's not how I think a democracy is supposed to function. So we have to push back on that. We have to remove this idea of schools being a place that is a battleground for culture wars.
Next question. Anybody in here have a question?
Herb has got his hand up again, and then I've got one.
Okay. Herb?
I'm kidding.
Recognizing that whichever of you comes to represent the 3rd District will not take office until January, I'm going to ask you to anticipate a bit in terms of what you will do with policy. And the specific area, I think, that is a critical concern, a specific area of critical concern, is the threat of stagflation or worse, emanating from, in significant part, from present policies in Washington. What enduring policies, not acts necessarily of this particular moment, but ones which you can act upon later and perhaps others can do now, do you suggest to reduce the serious prospect of high inflation combined with economic lack of growth or possibly recession?
Start with Tommy.
I believe that there are so many factors and so many things that are contributing to inflation, the cost of living, every economic crisis that we have in this country. There are so many factors that are all contributing to it at once, and I think that's by design. And well, I'm not entirely sure what the direct answer is to how do we fix this economy. I know that as previously stated, I will be bringing people in that are experts in this field. But some areas that I know that we have to look at is the concentration of wealth, monopolies everywhere you look, people not being able to afford anything in this country. Specific policies, I'm not sure, but we'll build a team around us that does understand and that we can learn from.
Bethany?
Yeah, sure. You hit the nail on right on the head. Bob Anders spent a lot of his time going after social issues that pit workers against each other. And I'm a toddler mom. Chicken nuggets are $12 a bag. It's just not financially sustainable. And so that means that we need policies that support American families and lift up households. First off, we need to end this illegal and unconstitutional war. The Strait of Hormuz being blockaded has meant that fertilizer has gone up. That is going to have just steamrolling effects on our supply chain and the availability of groceries and fertilizer and food, and that makes things more expensive. It also means that gasoline is above $4 a gallon. Diesel was $4.90 was $4.90 when I drove by. So we need to have global policies that do not commit war crimes, that make sure that our supply chains are safe. Now, domestic policies, things that we can do, it's to uplift American workers. And so the specific policies that I will be pushing are ones that support our middle class workers. So I believe that we should pass the PRO Act, and that will be one of my highest legislative priorities, because all workers should have the right to collectively bargain for higher wages, safer job sites, and for an economy that works for them instead of them just working to feed the economy of the next billionaire who wants to buy a yacht. I believe that there is an issue with wealth distribution in this country, and it's because we need to get big money out of politics too. So I support initiatives to end public. I think public elections should be publicly funded, and that we need to get big money out of politics. Additionally, one of the major issues that I hear from every family across the district, whether it's suburban, urban, or rural, is that their healthcare costs are too high. And I believe that we saw through Bob Onder's failed policies that closed rural hospitals and closed nursing homes here in this state, that we need to pass Medicare for all. All humans here in this country deserve health care that they can afford, that is accessible to them, and that doesn't make them choose between their insulin and paying their electric bill. So the PRO Act, Medicare for all, and getting big money out of politics are three of my legislative priorities.
Thank you. Sarah?
So my question is, I know you're in Columbia, Missouri, and you're speaking, and you're representing really, honestly, all Americans, right? But thinking about your district, whatever that may be, when the maps settle down, what do each of you see as maybe somewhat unique challenges that are being faced specifically by the people that will be able to vote for you?
Start with Bethany.
Just realizing you don't exactly know where those boundaries are going to be, but just do your best.
Issues that are unique to our district. Missouri is going to be the home of 22 data centers unless we do something about it. I have already been engaging with voters on the ground. Some of my most powerful town halls to date so far have been from Republican-leaning families all across the 70 belt and in Montgomery County, Warren County, even down in Camden and Callaway, who do not like just very simply the corruption that has taken place and the lack of transparency and accountability of their own elected officials. And so one of the very unique situations we have on the ground here in Missouri is Missouri lawmakers, from the state house to the state senate to now Bob Onder at the federal level, they have felt it comfortable to let you go into the voting booth. You select your choice, then they will say, you voted for us, but you didn't know what you voted for, so we're just going to go ahead and overturn your votes. That is going to not play very well for them in this general. People are starting to wake up. You can only tell so many property owners that you're going to take their land with eminent domain to build a data center before some of them, regardless of how many years they've contributed or voted for you as a Republican, they're not going to support that anymore. So those are some very unique challenges that we're seeing here in the district that we haven't seen in many other cycles. And we are jumping on that, and we are busy engaging voters now because time's a waste, and we're running towards November, and now is the time.
The first is top of mind. Did you have a question?
Oh, you go ahead. You can go ahead and
Okay,
answer your
sorry.
question, and she can go next. Sorry.
Okay. The thing that's most top of mind in this moment is us defunding Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
Which I want to join.
We have so many of those books that every time that we get a new Imagination Library book, every time we got a new Imagination Library book, we would flip to the back cover and say, look, baby, look, it's Aunt Dolly. She sent you another book. And she gets really excited every time that Aunt Dolly sends her a book. And do we want that to be one of Missouri's legacies? Is that we're a state that does that cuts sending free books to children? I certainly don't want that to be our legacy. Second, data centers. I think that Missouri is data centers are an issue across the United States, but I think Missouri is uniquely in the middle of it. St. Charles is the first county to, city to ban data centers from being built. We did that through zoning laws. I can certainly not take credit for that. That was from the hard work of a lot of on-the-ground people who organized and got people to show up. I went to the final two city council meetings, and this last one, which was maybe a month ago, is when they passed that vote to not allow data centers in city limits. And what I think was so magical about that happening is it showed me, at least, and I think to a lot of other people, that people power works. And when people come together, when they organize, when they stand up and fight for themselves, they can get things done. And the most powerful and richest people in this country are going to spend their money to convince you that that's not the case, that whatever they're doing is inevitable, so just accept it. That's BS. I want to show more people in this district that when you come together for a common goal, you can do anything. You really can. And I've seen it time and time again.
Thank you. Alice, question.
Thanks. Thanks for being here today. I'm assuming you're going to be educating people on the problems with Amendment 4 and 5, even though that's, of course, a very important state issue to us. But how are you going to get out to the grassroots? We're 20% of one of the maps. It's a large area. Are you planning on doing canvassing, looking volunteers to canvass? How much of the district you feel like you can cover? There's 3 of you. I think there's 3. Paul's also canvassing. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about your campaign. Everything's unknown now. You know, there's so many independents, and that's probably the vote you're really going to go after. But we know from the 24 election, 10,000 progressive-leaning, we'll call them Democrats in Boone County, didn't even vote. How do we get these voters to an August election when they need to go vacation before school starts?
Tom.
The way that we are mobilizing voters right now is twofold. First is a really strong social media push, and combining that with a strong field team. So we have everybody on our team is volunteer. We've not raised the money to pay people. Alyssa, who's here, is my campaign manager. She's a volunteer as well, and she's a rock star. I would love to pay Alyssa, but we're not there just yet. But we will be. We will be. We know that we need to get attention, and fortunately, we know how to do that. And we know that we need to go knock doors, make calls, and social media and making that content is what's enabling us to attract and filter and retain those volunteers. We are building a very, very strong volunteer network very quickly, much quicker than I thought would have been possible. I'm shocked and blown away at the response. If you go to our socials, you can see a lot of that engagement is just on the comments there. But we've gotten so many direct messages of people saying that we have ignited this flame inside of them, or that they thought they had just given up and now they feel like they can make a difference. And I think speaking to that specifically is what's going to allow us to get that vote out, to get the younger vote, to get people who do not vote to come and vote. Because there are so many people right now that feel this sense of despair, and that what's happening is inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it. And what that leads to is people feeling, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to give up. But when you give people hope, when you inspire people in that way, then they can take action, and then they can they feel like they can make a difference. And when one person feels like they can make a difference and their friends see that, then they also feel like they can make a difference. And then it grows and builds from there. And so I think I hope that answers your question. I think that's how we are approaching getting people out to vote and attracting that younger audience or people who would not have done this otherwise.
Bethany?
All right. I'm really glad that you mentioned that so many progressive voters stayed home in the last election cycle. It's really unfortunate that that happened, and I understand why. Yeah, a bit of the issue that we've noticed in Missouri is that Democratic brand. And there has been pressure to step away from progressive ideals and to run as a more moderate and a safer choice. I think the trade-off there has been that we have alienated our grassroots support, and that is exactly how we are supposed to win this race, is by bringing everybody together, the progressive Democrats, the blue dog Democrats, the right-leaning Democrats, and even some of those independents, and also some of the Republicans who don't believe that their party currently holds the same value that it used 2 years before. So, it is one thing to have progressive ideals versus mobilization efforts. And so that is why we have gone to work mobilizing from here out to Boone County, up to Hannibal, or down to Potosi and out to California, Missouri. That's where some of my experience plays in, where I know that where all of these Democratic clubs are all throughout the district. And we will be working with every single club. And also part of our goal in my congressional race, because the layers are very deep as to why we are in the position we are in this state. I believe that part of the goal of my campaign is to open up a campaign office in each county in the 3rd Congressional new and then the old, right? Because we have to show that it costs something for these lawmakers to change the maps on us. And our offices in each county are going to serve a couple of purposes. One, it's going to be so that our volunteers, and we have hundreds now, it's so exciting, we have a whole army of volunteers, and they will have a gathering place to meet, to commune, and to get out into their neighborhoods. Our goal is to make sure that out of our offices that we are reaching voters 5 to 7 times before November. We also want our offices to be able to keep an eye on things locally to make sure that shenanigans aren't happening any more than the shenanigans that are already happening with our elections. And we want to make sure that the community knows that they can come to the Progressive Democrats for mutual aid when some of the support systems, unfortunately, that they used to be able to rely on from their U.S. government have fallen short. So whether it's clean water, whether it's help with electricity bills, whether it's snacks for kids in schools, I believe that Democrats need to get to the work of being public servants and having hubs available in every community that can offer that kind of support. So it is a combination, not just of on the ground, boots on the ground, but it's also making sure that everybody feels included. So even if you're not a canvasser, if you're disabled, you work from home, we value all talents, anything from crafters who can make quilts for fundraisers to people who can do no-knot canvassing and stick a Post-it on the door. There is room in our campaign for everyone, whether it's canvassing, virtual phone banking, or just lending your talents, whatever they are. And so you can volunteer by going to my website, BethanyMannForCongress.com.
There's a question in the chat from Dave Taylor, who is my the other half of the IT team, that's the invisible half that is monitoring it from home. He asks, or he says, Bob Onder mails out frequent house-to-house updates via USPS using his congressional franking privileges. These are not updates at all, but pure campaign propaganda. Is there some way you can sue to stop that illegal and improper use of our tax dollars? And then he adds, Alfred does that as well. This might be a quick answer, but is it Tommy's turn? No, it's Bethany's turn first.
No, sure. Yes, we can sue. And that is part of the reason why we are asking for campaign donations and a war chest, because it is going to be a very litigious election season, from the repeated challenges of him using his congressional bank account to send campaign updates, to using the constituent surveys that he emails to all of you guys to collect your personal data so that he can blast fundraising emails out to you. These are illegal activities. Your campaign accounts are supposed to serve your campaign accounts, not to enrich you personally. And in fact, after you've finished running and you've moved on and you no longer have federally reported filings, you close that down and you open up a new account for your new business, Bob, or whoever else is running. We also see that because of election irregularities that MAGA has purposefully pushed into our elections, we expect lawsuits for the primary, the general, and even potentially a runoff in November. So the legal aspect of winning this race is going to take some money. But yes, to answer your question very directly on that first count, absolutely, that is an actionable legal action that we can take against Congressman Bob Onder.
Tommy?
I'll take Bethany's word for it. I was unaware that this was being done. I'm glad that I'm learning about this. So for now, I'll say we're going to look into that. What is using franking privileges? Got it. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I'm asking for clarification. Dave Brazel just asked in the chat, what does your polling say? Dave, if you are in a place where you can unmute yourself.
I imagine Bethany's campaign is big enough now. She's done some polling. Can she share any of that with us?
Just about maybe voter turnout and that kind of stuff?
In the district, if the election were held tomorrow, who would you vote for? Onder, that jerk, or this lady here who seems
Yeah. So I can give you an update on polling. So what we've seen in Missouri's 3rd Congressional, now since the lines have changed, it's a little different. But if we're running with what I believe to be the legal map that goes from here out to southern Boone County down through Potosi, that race, we've moved almost 20 points in that race, and we are sitting at a Republican plus 12 district. Even with the old congressional or the legal congressional map, with all of the gerrymandered alcoves carved into that, and with the map staying exactly the same, we still believe that we are well within the margin to flip that seat by itself. And that doesn't include the map, this MAGA map, which we actually believe gives us 8 more points. Okay. So that makes it a single-digit race, a Republican plus 5, and definitely within the margins, which is why we suspect they're going to flip it into the old 2024 map, because all they're doing is a shell game to try to delay, because they know that they are losing power. They know that they are going to lose. They see the writing on the wall. You know, some of those who wrote the maps, they may have been Republicans, but they sure weren't Bob Onder's friends. And so they're making it specifically harder for him to win, thinking that if he loses this time around, it's not so bad because they'll flip and run another moderate looking candidate in 28. But we're not going to fall for that, and we're going to make them pay for overturning votes, for doing illegal things. And also, Sonia Sotomayor also mentioned that those congressional candidates who have been adversely impacted by these gerrymandering schemes would have standing in the Supreme Court if those cases go that route.
But for those of
and
us
now
who
this
don't,
is now.
Under 12, under 12, okay, does that mean you're in the low 40s to mid 40s? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Low to mid 40s at the moment. Yes.
Tommy, anything to add to that?
Not necessarily, just that yes, there is something I'd like to add. I completely agree with Bethany that this is totally flippable. Whatever map that we use, we're gonna flip this seed one way or another. There's just too much. The culture right now, the environment that we're in, and the conversations that I'm sure we're all having with people, it is coming. That's all I'll say for now.
Okay, I think we're about out of time, and so let's wrap it up and take like 3 to 5 minutes if you need it to tell us why we should vote for you. Let's start with Bethany.
Sure. Muleskinners, once again, this hour always goes by fast, and you always have such great questions. Thank you so much for your time today. Now, I'm running a campaign to bring Missourians together, and I promised you in 2021 that I would continue running until we made a difference and we elected a Democrat in this seat. And the landscape has changed. Our numbers have grown, and we are building a coalition all across this district that will not just change the trajectory of this state, but also the course of the nation. You know, it is not lost on me that we are staring down at the potential of a draft that's happening in December for an illegal and an unconstitutional war that nobody asked for. Voting has consequences, and we need to vote and get our neighbors mobilized like we mean it, because it is our future at stake in this next election. I'm very proud of the campaign that we run and we continue to run to bring Missourians together. We have more Democrats than ever running in Missouri in over a century, and that has been a direct result of the hard work that we've done. My campaign has put thousands and thousands of miles all across this district, and we have clear legislative priorities to support American workers, speak to the affordability and the higher costs that families are dealing with, and to make sure that our public school system is supported. We also have very important environmental and energy issues that we need to address with experience, and I plan to do that when I'm in Congress. And so I am asking you right now very directly for your vote in August. Will you please vote for me in August? And I will also ask you to vote for me in November. And in the meantime, please jump on board, join the ranks, make some phone calls, knock on doors, and just get involved. Talk to your neighbor. If every one person who voted for me in the last election cycle, if you guys just go find 2 of your friends to go to the polls and vote as well, we'll win this without too much trouble, but we know we're looking at some trouble. So this is why we need more people than ever to get involved and get behind your candidate and start knocking on doors and reaching voters. We can do it, and we will win. And I'm Bethany Mann. I'm the right man for the job to send Bob Onder home. Thank you for your time, Muleskinners.
In January, I was at one of the small group facilitations that I do. I was at a leadership retreat, and to preface what this event was, the mission of this organization is, I don't butcher this, to co-create a more just, thriving, and caring world. And while I was there, these were really long days. They were like 18, 19-hour days that the staff and facilitation team was working. And when I touched down in Texas for this event, I opened my phone and saw that a woman was killed in Minnesota. Her name was Renee Good. And I remember watching that video and saying, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this happened. Thankfully, this was on camera, and thankfully we all can see what happened, and we're going to have justice from this. And we went through the week, and we did our work, and then finally when I was able to look at my phone again, I saw the discourse. And I was confused of like comments and stuff I was seeing on Facebook, and I was like, hang on, I saw this video. What's actually going on right now? And then I watched a video of this administration labeling her as a domestic terrorist. And so that changed a lot for me. And I started to question, like, okay, there are skills that I have, there's things that I can do, and I can go and make a change somewhere. I'm going to go find a protest. So I found a protest in St. Louis, tried to get some friends to come with, and no one could in such a short amount of time. And I almost didn't go just because I didn't want to go to a protest by myself. That seemed a bit scary, but I knew that I had to be an example for people. And so I went and I took pictures and videos, mostly to show that it was not this violent mob that some of the news that I've watched has claimed these protests to be. And that was a great experience. And after that, I was like, okay, now it's going to be easier to go to the next one. And so I was looking for the next protest to go to. I was trying to see what groups were organizing. And then a man named Alex Petty was killed. And this video was even more graphic and even more clear as to what had happened, what I had just witnessed. And yet again, the administration in power labeled him a domestic terrorist. In fact, Donald Trump said that he doesn't love that he had a gun there. Interesting. And that activated me in a way that I've never felt before. I saw what this administration was capable of, and I saw the way that they're able to convince large groups of people around this country of a reality that does not exist. And so I knew that I had to do as much as I could and be in this fight. And the highest level that I could consider in the moment was running for Congress. Obviously, if I don't quite look like a traditional congressional candidate, but I think if someone that looks like me is running for Congress, then something's very wrong in this country. I'd like you to vote for me because I think we can win. I think we can mobilize large numbers of young voters, of new voters, and both the congressional campaign and my personal accounts on social media everywhere have been public for years. You can go back and see the kind of person I am if you want evidence or something. I am somebody who will fight for every person because I think that we are all people. We live in this country, and as public servants, it's our responsibility to take care of this country, this world, and its people. And that's what I intend to do. And that's the example that I would like to set, not just for my children, but for people across this country.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
both.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way out to Columbia.
Of course.
I love Columbia.
First,
Yeah.
many, or I guess continuance of many trips
Yes.
out here.
Hey, I noticed Becky Brewer has joined us from the campaign trail. Hey, Becky, do you want to unmute and greet the room? Give us an update on what you're doing today there in your tent.
Hello. Hi. How is everyone?
Great.
I'm actually sitting. I could probably flip my phone around, but I'm sitting out in my neighborhood with all of my signs out, passing them out to people who are walking by garage sailing. But while I'm on here, we're having a fundraiser on Monday at 6:30 at Burr Oak. We're gonna have Will Westmoreland if anyone would like to join us in Columbia. But yeah, so far so good. We've things are going great on over here in District 44, and I'm glad to see these two out here campaigning as well.
Awesome.
Becky's a hero. She's going to flip that part of Boone County blue, and oh man, such a difference maker. Thank you for all you do for our community, Becky.
Okay, so we'll have a short Muleskinners, your welcome to stay
or-
and to eat
Yes.
our
Ah,
food
that's great.
that Pam is so gracious of us.
Can you Pam?
No, I-
When we
And before your announcements, is there anything else for the good of this organization? This meeting?
I want to make clear that Paul Wilson suspended his campaign.
Yes.
Uh,
I'll put it in the chat.
we
too.
just learned this today.
News to me too.
So, but that was wonderful to hear from Bethany and Tommy Holstein.